Imagine you are sleeping in a tent with your closest friends on a mountain peak, enduring a freezing -22 Fahrenheit blizzard. Suddenly, something happens outside. Something so completely terrifying that you don't even wait to put your shoes on. You take a hunting knife, slash your own tent open from the inside, and run out into the deadly, freezing night, barefoot and half naked, sprinting straight toward your death. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. It is history's most disturbing unsolved mystery. An incident where 9 highly experienced hikers met a gruesome, unexplainable end. Some were missing their eyes. One was missing her tongue. Others had their rib cages completely shattered, as if hit by a freight train. Yet they didn't have a single external scratch on their bodies. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident. And today, on the Enigma Journal, we are taking a deep dive back to 1959. We are going to retrace the steps on the Mountain of the Dead to find out what really happened on that freezing, fatal night. Our story begins on January 23rd, 1959, in the Soviet Union. A group of 10 students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute set out on a winter expedition. They were led by a 23-year-old engineering student and highly experienced outdoorsman named Igor Dyatlov. Their goal was to reach Mount of Torten in the northern Ural Mountains. This was classified as a Category 3 route, the most difficult and dangerous trail available at the time. Everyone in this group was incredibly fit, highly experienced, and trained to survive in extreme winter conditions. Just a few days into the trek, one of the members, Yuri Yudin, experienced severe joint pain and was forced to turn back. He was devastated to leave his friends behind, but that illness ultimately made him the sole survivor of the expedition. Now there were 9. On February 1st, 1959, the group pitched their tent on the slope of a mountain. The local indigenous Mansi tribe called this peak Kholat Syakhl, which translates ominously to the Mountain of the Dead. It was around 10 p.m. The temperature outside was dropping below -22 degrees. They ate their dinner and settled in for the night. The final photos recovered from their cameras show a happy group completely at ease. But after that night, they were never seen alive again. When the group failed to send a scheduled telegram upon their return, their families pressured the university, and a massive search and rescue operation was launched on February 20th. Helicopters, military personnel, and local trackers combed the treacherous mountains. Finally, on February 26th, the search party found the tent. But what they saw sent shivers down their spines. The tent was half buried in the snow. And the most chilling detail? The tent had been cut open from the inside. The group's belongings, their heavy winter coats, their boots, their food and their money, everything was left behind, neatly arranged inside the tent. Outside, leading away into the snow, were 9 sets of footprints. Some were wearing only socks, others were completely barefoot. The tracks led down the slope, away from the safety of the tent, toward a dark, dense forest about a mile away. Why would 9 survival experts abandon their gear and run into a blizzard? The search party followed the tracks to the edge of the forest, right under a large cedar tree. There they found the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. They were dressed only in their underwear. Beside them were the remains of a small, desperate fire. The branches of the cedar tree were snapped off, up to 15 feet high, suggesting the men were frantically trying to climb it. Were they looking for their tent? Or were they trying to escape from something lurking below? Between the cedar tree and the tent, the search party found 3 more bodies, including the leader, Igor Dyatlov. Their positions in the snow made it tragically clear. They had been trying to crawl back up the mountain to the tent when they froze to death. The official cause of death for all 5 was hypothermia. It was a bizarre tragedy, but medically it made sense. However, the remaining 4 members were still missing. It took 2 more months. In May 1959, As the spring between the cedar tree and the tent, the search party found 3 more bodies, including the leader, Igor Dyatlov. Their positions in the snow made it tragically clear. They had been trying to crawl back up the mountain to the tent when they froze to death. The official cause of death for all 5 was hypothermia. It was a bizarre tragedy, but medically, it made sense. However, the remaining 4 members were still missing. Horror began. The last 4 bodies were discovered at the bottom of a ravine, buried under 13 feet of snow. And the condition of these bodies completely shattered any logical explanation. The autopsies revealed injuries that defied human capability. Nikolai Thibaut Brignol, he had a massive, fatal skull fracture. Semyon Zolotaryov and Lyudmila Dubinina, their chest and rib cages were completely crushed. The medical examiner stated that the force required to cause such extreme damage was equivalent to a high-speed car crash. But here is the terrifying part. There were no external wounds, no scratches, no cuts, no bruising on the skin. It was as if an immense invisible pressure had squeezed them until their bones snapped. And the most disturbing detail of all, Lyudmila Dubinina was missing her eyes, her lips, and her entire tongue. The investigators were entirely baffled. But what pushes this case from a tragic accident into a paranormal nightmare are the anomalies. High radiation. When the investigators tested the victims' clothing, they found abnormally high levels of radioactive contamination. Where does radiation come from on an isolated, snow-capped mountain? Glowing orbs. On the exact same night, another group of hikers about 30 miles south reported seeing massive glowing orange spheres floating in the night sky in the direction of Kolatsiakl. The cover-up. Shortly after these discoveries, the Soviet government abruptly classified the case files and completely sealed off the mountain region for 3 years. What were they trying to hide?